You see, complaining is not always a sign that life is bad. Sometimes it's a sign that the focus is broken. Your focus is broken. My focus is broken. If we're complaining, we're focusing on the wrong thing. Again, we do understand struggles are real, but we're talking about a habitual complainer, a competitive complainer, the passive complainer, the identity complainer. Your focus is probably off because your complaining is not because life is bad. It's a sign you need to retrain your focus. Okay, we need to do have balance when it comes to these things in life because we know life isn't always rosy. It doesn't always come up roses. So we do need to have some outlet. Okay. We can't just have silence that becomes toxic and eats us up alive, right? We can't have that. So there is balance. Everything is done in balance. We got to get it off our chest. So, yes, we can speak about the pain that we suffer, the grief, the challenges, those things that might alter our life. But it's a difference between honest expression and constant negativity. If you lose someone and you suffer grief, maybe it's the loss of a pet, even just loss of a job. I remember one time somebody told me that, even when your sports team loses, there's grief involved. Now, the grief probably should be held in perspective if it's a sports team, but you do need a minute or two or whatever to get over that team loss, especially if it's a championship game, something important. World Cup's going on, teams are losing. You might need a moment to grieve the loss of your team. But that grief should be in check compared to maybe some other grief that you're going through. But we need to talk it out sometimes. And that's why you have sports talk radio, for example. That's why you have happy hour. Get some of those things off your chest. So, yes, there is honest expression. Honest expression says, I am struggling right now. I'm overwhelmed. I need some help or maybe a listening ear. But the constant negativity, the complaining, says, I'm unhappy with everything. Nothing ever works. I want everyone else to wallow in the mire with me. The difference is honest expression is constructive. It opens the door to community, to vulnerability, and ultimately healing. Complaining just becomes destructive. It isolates you and just takes you into deeper bitterness. We can be content and have contentment and not have complacency. Because you see, when we talk about some of this, one of the biggest pushbacks you get is contentment. Okay, this idea of contentment. And contentment is something I think is highly misunderstood in our fast-paced, high-achieving culture. People think that if you're content, it means you've stopped growing. If you're content, you've given up your dreams, right? And you've accepted the life of mediocrity, but that's not the case. Contentment is not complacency. We're always talking about raising the standard. Strive for a better life. Be a better version of you. Contentment can be a part of that as you strive for that. Contentment does not mean you lack ambition.